This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
As technology increases, well, so unfortunately does cybercrime. And today, we're going to arm you with some knowledge to help shield your life's work, your savings, and your identity. I'm Alex Dingman. This is Financial Insanity. And I'm next to, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Scott, it is great to see you, my friend. And
you too, buddy.
This is important stuff, man. These scams, we know, are out there, and it just gets worse every year.
It's bad. I'm so glad if you're listening right now, I hope you don't just turn your brain off, but turn it on, because these thieves, they come in the daytime, they come at night, they never stop coming to get your hard-earned dollars. So Alex, let's talk about several different issues. It's really ticking me off, because these people that are grabbing your bank accounts, calling for scams, I'm going to give you some illustrations. I want you to be aware, and it saddens my heart that several of our clients have gotten involved, and I'm going to give you some stories that are real, and I want to help you avoid that. Whether you're working with McLean Advisory Group or not, you need to make this stuff real. So, Alex, what do you got? What have you heard about? I mean, this is amazing stuff.
Well, and because the stuff is out there, and there's no point in fighting it. It does exist, and so then it's all about, okay, how are you going to protect yourself? It's going to happen. There is going to be cybercrime. There's always been crime, and then as technology increases, cybercrime comes into the fold. And you know, there's some definitely some things that people can do, though, Scott, and one of those things is around their passwords. Can you give people any advice in regards to passwords, Scott?
You know, I found myself making the same mistake. Passwords seem to be the same. So you kind of want to make sure you have your passwords. I use a thing called LastPass. I'm not encouraging you to buy it, but I bought it. I'm using it. It saves a ton of different passwords with one place. Now, Google has their own password protection. Yeah. Then, of course, a lot of our clients, they have their notebook and notepad, and they keep it there for their kids in case they need it. So whatever system you have a system, but don't use the same password for every account. And it's got to be pretty crazy. For example, if I were to put my name, because I know my name is SCOTT, I might put a S as a $, C as maybe a little C with an asterisk. O would be maybe an @ sign or O. T might be the capital T, small t, and maybe I'll put some numbers involved, asterisk 1, 2, and then 3 with the $sign. Something weird that you can remember what it is, and then, of course, write it down in your notebook or get a LastPass type of system, Google, but save these. It's really important. Mm-hmm. This is critical. Some weird numbers, weird calculations. I mean, and if you have to change it. So you guys got to have a change your passwords.
That's good advice. And the number, if you have any questions, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And I know my company, they just gave us some recent advice about maybe use song lyrics, because that's the kind of thing that would be
beautiful.
That'd be super hard for anyone to guess, because it's not anything that's real particular to you. So, just think of a song.
Even smarter than mine.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, that's, we're here for each other, Scott. We build each other up, my friend.
That's because you young kids know how to get around us old dogs.
Yeah. Well, it's important to, hey, you teach me stuff, I teach you stuff, old and new. It definitely comes together and create something beautiful. But, the great thing is too, Scott, if people are suspicious, because one thing is these companies are never going to straight ask you for your password. Now, when you log in, yes, but as far as calling you or texting you for a password, that will not happen. And I know one key thing here, Scott, is just simply asking a person who's calling, when's the last time I called you? And that's something that can really, throw off. Just don't, always just be, and unfortunately, you got to be a little suspicious. And this is just about protecting yourself.
That's so true. So I mean, just today, this morning, I'm at the office around 6:30. I'm making some calls to some not clients, but some vendors I was working with. I told them I'd call them early in the morning because they're overseas working with another project I'm working on. And it's funny because I got a call, a text on my machine. Please call me right now. This is about your checking account or credit card account. So I said, well, wow, that's pretty different. So I called in the middle of one of my follow-ups, and I call, who's this? Well, this is Mr. with a foreign accent. I won't be foreign accent because I don't want to insult anybody, but a major foreign accent overseas, and they say some things. And okay, great. Just like you said, when did you call me last? Well, they say, yeah, we spoke last week about your let's say website. We wanted to update it, and I need to get into your website. I'm with Microsoft. I need to get into your website because I see there's a problem. Really? What kind of problem? So I'm going to have a conversation real quick.
Yep.
I know it's a fake deal. If your gut tells you it's a fake deal, it's probably a fake deal. If your gut's telling you, I've never heard this before, don't go along with it. The longer they keep you on the phone, the more they win. If they keep you on the phone, the more they win because they're sucking your brain into it. Maybe this could be like a client that fell into that trap. And I can tell you, I'll give that story in a second. When they fell into the trap, they found out that their grandson was in a car accident, and it could be a dead child. This woman got in a car accident. Called my client, which was the grandfather, and they said, hey, Mr. M, we'll just say Mr. M, this is fake name, let's say Juan, and the reason I'm calling is because your grandson got in a car accident. I don't want you to call anybody. I'd like to settle this right now for $25,000. I will come by your house and pick up $5,000 now. Apparently, the woman had a child in her, and looks like the child will not survive. But your grandson caused the accident. Well, Mr. M, my client, got involved. Now, I've known Mr. M for over 15 years.
Yeah.
He gave him the $5,000, but owed him $20,000. $20,000. But they went to his house. I couldn't even believe this crap. So Mr. M said, okay, I won't tell anybody what's going on. Bottom line, Mr. M calls me and says, Scott, my wife and I are coming down there. I need to pull out $20,000. I said, okay, great. By the way, what is it for? And can I help you? Because, nope, I need to have it. Mr. M, I've never heard your voice sound like this before. What's going on? Nothing, Scott. I just need the money. I just need to take it now. I said, how long will it take? I said, it'll take about 3 days to get your money in your hand. Okay, great. Can you process it for me? Yes, I'll tell you what. You need to come in and sign some paperwork. Will you come in? I'll come in right away. He came in right away with his wife, reading their body language. And I've, been in the business for now, 40 plus years, and watching their fear. Tell me what's going on. No, Scott, I'm not allowed to. Oh, you're not allowed to. Why? Well, because I just have to get the money to pay some kind of expense I have to pay. He wasn't telling me.
Yeah.
I've known this guy. He goes to our church. I've known him for years. Everybody knows him. Wonderful, warm guy. And he's saying, Scott, I have to have the money. Finally pulled it out of him. Apparently, I said, did you call the police that your grandson got in a car accident going to the prom and this woman got hurt? He goes, no. I said, well, let's call your son, the father of your grandson. No, I can't call my son. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Mr. M, we are going to call your son. We are going to call him right now. I'm not going to give you the money. I now have to have my fiduciary responsibility. Either I give you the money and you cannot become a client, or we have to call your son. We called the son and said, by the way, and I was taking care of the call. This is Scott, and I got Mr. M, your dad, on the phone. By the way, and Mr. M, I didn't want him to say a word, and I told him that before the phone call. Mr. M, to the son. By the way, how's your son doing? Did he have fun last night? What did he do? Oh, sure. He came back. Him and his friends went out to play pool with a bunch of friends, and they came back. So he came back. He's fine. No car accidents. Why, Scott? Just want to know if he had a car accident. No, he's fine. You should have seen Mr. and Mrs. M.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out there, IRS, by the way, real quick sidebar, they're not going to call you. It's
Nope.
Whether it's tax season or not. By the way, if it's a firm that's going to be asking for your password, they're not going to ask for your password. If it's somebody that's saying, look, you owe money, we need to get into your computer, don't do it. This subject today, Alex and I were talking about it, is the theft. These guys and gals are smart. The longer you stay on the phone, the more are you in quicksand, and you're going to find yourself buying their bull stuff.
Yep.
You're going to find their this bull stuff. Keep it clean on the radio. And if you're out there and if you've been a victim, and I've had several clients victim, and they ask me, Scott, what do I do now? How do we handle it? Well, I'm so glad our clients lean on us. But there's sometimes you just can't get the money back. If you're even entertaining it, wipe it from your brain. That's where the devil gets a leg on your brain, and now you're going to buy into these stories as Mr. M did. And thank goodness all he lost was $5,000. And unfortunately, we called the other people in the neighborhood to see if there's cameras to see if we could have a license plate, but there was none. By the way, guys, they are smart. Don't follow the crowd thinking they're dumb. They're brilliant. Save your money. I can tell you, the scams are going to get much worse.
Yep. Well, and that's why Scott and his team, they're here to help you in any facet when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your long-term planning. And this is the kind of thing that, you talked about that story, Scott. You're a great advocate for your folks. You're going to be there. You're going to be listening. You're going to be questioning. And it's all about looking out for folks. And one of those areas is helping to avoid scams. The number 609-488-4646. Again, that number 609-488-4646. And if you ever do have any questions, your concern, this email doesn't look right, this number, hey, I've just won the sweepstakes, but all I have to do is pay this little fee. Doesn't that sound great, Scott? If there's anything significant or something that may sound just a little weird, then don't take it at face value. Give Scott and his team a call. 609-488-4646. Good stuff. We will talk more and more about scams and other ways that we can help protect folks. But coming up, we're going to talk about planning for the worst, hoping for the best. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Can we really live the go-go years, or am I going to scrimp and save and stay at home and watch TV, watch Bob Barker? I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Every year, more than 500,000 Americans file for bankruptcy due to medical bills. Healthcare emergency, catastrophic illness, accident can knock you off your feet physically and financially. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. The number, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. 46. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And this is a reality, Scott, and something that we got to plan for, that stuff's going to happen. We're going to have medical expenses.
Medical expenses are real. Going through what I went through, just a knee surgery, put me a new knee in there, and now I got to work out. But it takes time, effort, and energy. They said I wouldn't be back to work for, 2 or 3 weeks, and some people take longer. Well, I was back in a week. I think you and I spoke the week after, but I didn't have the energy I had. I was planning for the best because I told the staff before the drugs wore off, I'll be in next couple of days, guys. No big deal. This is the second day out of the surgery, and went right home the next day or the same day. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I felt great until the major drug wore off. And then I planned for the best. Didn't really plan for the worst. I thought I could jump in the office real quick. But my brain was in the office because I love what I do. I love speaking to you, Alex. I love speaking to people on the air and helping people. I thought I'd have my energy back, and it just wasn't back. How did I plan for it? I didn't plan for it. But how do you plan for it when it comes to your money? That's a hard thing. We don't plan to become sick and then our lights go dim. We don't plan for a car accident, although we do buy car insurance. We don't plan for inflation. We just have to now mitigate or drive ourselves through inflation by reducing our spending, reallocating our investments, maybe not spending money going out to eat as much, so we can work our way through it. We've seen inflation. For those of you who've been around as long as I have, and I'm an old dog, 65, and I can tell you, I feel like my brain says I'm 19, 20. My body says I'm a little bit older, at least for now. How do you plan for the worst? Well, when it comes to finances, that's what's called the asset allocation. It's a big fancy word by saying we don't want to have everything in the bond account. We don't want to have everything into the short-term accounts, into the banks. We don't want to have everything into maybe mid-cap, small cap, large caps. Maybe we need to diversify around and find different alternatives. So there's in the universe of investments, Alex, like medical costs. Well, there's one thing in medical costs. Of course, they're always going to be expensive, and they keep going up. You have the right insurance. You can plan for that, the best of your ability. You can do those planning. And then as things go on, you ask other people, you pull your brain with some other financial advisors who have been through that tough road or who are going through it or understand it. This is really helpful information. And we talked about medical bills. And one of the biggest medical bills I speak to people when they get a certain age is, should I put my house into a irrevocable trust? So in the event I have to go to a nursing home, I've heard this, Scott, how can I preserve my assets? Where do I put my assets? So I want to make sure that my biggest assets, whether it's a huge bank account, savings account, investment account, maybe my house or my second house, should I put that into a special trust to really protect that or shield that or almost insulate that from the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral? And when I think about that, many people forget that because they don't want to think about going to the nursing home. They want to think about, going to a place they're going to be away from their home. It's hard to think about. That is what you can plan now for. And then, of course, you have special trusts. We have special attorneys here, and I think we've done a show a time or two, and I think we'll do one coming up soon, where we talk about these special trusts that could really benefit some of you out there that are thinking about it. Or maybe plan for the best and then plan for the worst. I should say hope for the best. Maybe you have a son or daughter out there that are going to be preventing, getting money if you pass away. Plan for the best. How do you give it to them? Do you give it all to them? This is part of your estate planning. How do you diversify the portfolio so that they can get a inheritance? Or maybe they are going through a divorce, and how do we protect the money from your child's spouse? These are questions, Alex, I get all the time.
Yep.
I call it a come to Jesus meeting, a really down-to-earth, real session. This is not textbook financial planning 101. This is asking questions 102.
Right.
Let's really understand what's going on. So again, when you're planning for medical care, let's hope for the best. Yes, we should diversify our portfolio to make money. Plan for the worst. Okay, right now, cash is a great, right, to certain times, cash is a great investment because interest rates are high. But interest rates are low, diversify. But how do we protect our money? Or maybe we're going through a bump in the road, or possible bankruptcy. You mentioned that's a possibility. How do we protect our assets? This is the art of financial planning. But Alex, by the way, I did write a book called The Financial Planning Process, how the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. If anybody's out there who would like to get a copy of that, please call. We'll put you on the air. We'll talk to you about it, give you, or those who want a quick segment of the estate planning, we'd love to get that in your hands. Just give Bonnie a call at 609-488-4646. I'll do it. No cost, no obligation. We can send you the e-chapters, the PDF chapters. You can send it there. And for those of you who want to visit with me one-on-one, I'd love to get you a book in your hands so you really understand all the different areas. I mean, 40 plus years in this industry. And when I try to culminize or put it together, planning, you're thinking for the best. I want the best to happen. We all want the best until you get hit by a car or you go through a divorce, or your sweetie pie just died and you don't know how to handle the money because he or she did the money, but you didn't. This is the worst. You need to get a backup quarterback in your life. I'd love to speak to you. If you want to give me a call, by the way, if you're needing guidance or want to question me off the air, please do so. Don't put this back in there, your brain, and put this off. I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646. You will not get a sales pitch. You will not get a bill. You will not get come and see me and we'll see how we can help you. You're not going to get that. I've been here for so long in Ocean County, since 1979 when I moved up from down south, coming off the road, cutting some albums. I can tell you a fact that if you come visit with us, let's just have a conversation. If the conversation leads to a great area, maybe you go back to your financial guy or gal, your lawyer, but you need to get things done. You've put it on the shelf too long. Maybe I'm speaking to you right now. If you've put this on the shelf for too long and have not brought these planning for the worst, expecting the best, but planning for the worst, let's have that conversation, because this conversation is a true, real conversation. Why? To protect all your hard-earned time, effort, and energy, which equals assets. Protect that from the crows and the clowns that usually show up with their hands out. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Alex. I'd love to speak to you off the air. Alex, I don't know how they can get a hold of me. You want to give them a shout out, but I think this is really important, especially now when our economy is doing some crazy stuff. Plan for the best and for the worst for both.
Yep. 609-488-4646, the number, 609-488-4646 at a.com for the website. And talking about healthcare costs, it's a great thing we have Medicare. Turns on after we turn 65, but it's obviously, it doesn't cover everything. And I know you know some about it. You have folks that ask about it. What is not covered generally, and what are some options for folks dealing with these medical costs that are not covered by Medicare?
Well, I can tell you in the Medicare, I'm actually in that area with many of you people out there. But it really, when you think about the Medicare costs, I know you want to look pretty and get that face, a tummy tuck, or the facelift, or I need a facelift when I was born. But anyway, I was just thinking, it doesn't cover that cosmetic surgery. If you were hurt in a car accident and need cosmetic surgery due to the car accident, it would cover it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't cover it because you want to get pretty like me, or ugly like me and get prettier anyway.
And we don't recommend people get in car accidents on purpose.
No, that's absolutely, don't do that.
Shouldn't do that.
Maybe nursing home, you think it's going to cover nursing home, but that does not cover it. That's a different type of program. Maybe you're about to fly and take a trip overseas. You might want to get travel insurance. I've spoken to so many people, and one of our clients actually almost died overseas. They had to get flown in. Luckily, they had a large enough estate that they were able to get flown in, but they had a hard time getting flown in because they didn't want the doctors to handle him. It doesn't cover that, so you think about your travel. By the way, if you're traveling, I'll throw this out there for poops and giggles. If you're going to go travel, bring your power of attorney, a copy of the power of attorney, and stick that in your briefcase. Good tip for you. If you're going on a trip out of state or a vacation out of the country, bring your power of attorney, because you never know on this. The doctors might say, well, who's the power of attorney? And and become a real stickler, because now times thing are stickler, or make sure that your kids have a copy of the power of attorney via PDF they could send to you. But I would encourage you to do that. But again, it doesn't cover, let's go back to the subject at hand, the Medicare. It's not going to cover your fancy dental work. And so that's expensive. Hearing aids, if you're a veteran during wartime period, or maybe you served and you had certain in a gunnery range, or maybe in a tank, it may cover by the VA. So check out the Veterans Benefit. I've got a great contact for you to call somebody if you need that help for our dear veterans that served, and as well as long-term care. Feel free to call me. I built a company called Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008. And then, of course, your eyes and your eye exam. So hearing aids, there's a lot of things it doesn't cover. You kind of think it does cover. So if you're like me, as you're in the Medicare period of time, these are things you should be aware of. And when you shop it out, which you can shop it out, there's all different prices. You can shop it out every single year. But again, there are things it doesn't cover that you maybe think it does cover.
Yep.
Beware. You want to plan for the best. So I think that's critical.
And Scott, people that have questions, they could give you a holler, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. And we're talking today about planning for the worst, hoping for the best. And we're going to talk about long-term care. Nearly 70% of retirees are going to need this at some point. Don't go anywhere. More coming up.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
By the way, I'm an old dog. I'm almost 65, but I will accept presents.
Scott, are you just going to plug your birthday every show until the first of the year? Is that what's going to happen?
I'm going to plug it till I get a present.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Nearly 70% of retirees going to need some type of long-term care. This according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So not a sure thing, but chances are you or your spouse are going to need long-term or nursing care of some sort at some time. And while the costs vary by location, the median cost of a private room in a nursing home over $100,000. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. I'm Alex Dingman, along with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And Scott, no surprise to you, that number there may be a surprise to some. Long-term care not covered by Medicare, Scott.
It's not. I'll never forget my daddy. I don't know if I mentioned this before in one of our shows, Alex, when Daddy and I were in the car, we're buying a property up in Newark, New Jersey, actually East Orange. And we're driving. Because, son, when I get older, we were going pretty fast on the Garden State Parkway at the time. This was back in the 90s. And, of course, Daddy was young. Well, back then because he was young, but I'm thinking now I'm old.
Yeah.
He said, Dad, what's on your heart? He goes, son, I just want to let you know that if I get dementia, Alzheimer's, I want you to do me a favor. If I get, disabled,
sure,
do me a favor, go down this Garden State Parkway and push me out. What, Dad? What are you kidding?
Yeah.
He's like, come on, Dad.
Yeah.
Now we always joked around like that because we were just a down to earth family. And I said, Dad, are you serious? He goes, son, I don't want to go to a nursing home. But now there's nothing wrong in nursing homes.
Yeah.
But if you're in a nursing home or maybe have a loved one there, you do want to inspect what you expect, by the way. But I'll just remember, nursing homes have a way, as you mentioned, Alex, at the beginning of the show, to evaporate that hard-earned income, that hard-earned retirement, that hard-earned beautiful house or estate that you've built. It has a way of really putting a lien on it, and you would never know. So when we talk about healthcare costs, yes, long-term care, and by the way, there's several types, but long-term care provisions or policies or types of contract could be very, very, very valuable. As we spoke, I guess earlier in the segment, we spoke one time about Medicare and what does it cover, what doesn't it cover, the gaps in between it, the drugs, does it cover drugs? But long-term care, this is long-term care. And some states are more effective than other states. So again, this is a good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some products, like give you an idea out there. I'm not selling you. Listen to me. Listen, you guys, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to tell you what's out there, so you're aware. See, unaware is lack of knowledge. But if you have knowledge, now you know how to take action. But there's a few products have been out. When I was younger, I remember I was out in Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up. And I remember some guys coming door to door selling cancer policies. And I remember, what the heck is this cancer policy crap, Dad? He goes, son, well, I understand cancer is getting bigger. This is the 60s and 70s. I'll never forget it. And I remember Daddy was saying, son, we don't need that. It's just cancer policy. It's cheap. It's like something like $50 a year, and they cover all sorts of cancer. Let's snap forward from 1960, and here it's the year 2000. 40 plus years forward, my dad died of cancer and my mom did die of cancer. Should they spend the policy? I don't know. But as of those times, policies have gotten better. They've become more aware that people don't want to throw their money away.
Right.
So there's some kind of contracts called long-term care coverage that'll cover the cost. And this could be in the form of life insurance. So if you don't need it, then what happens is you get a lump sum tax-free distribution. So you get all the money back that you paid in. There's other types of contracts that if you put a lump sum down and you don't use it, you get it all back plus interest. There's other policies. If you like the old policy of day, I think Travelers was the number one back then, or Genworth was another company, and John Hancock. A lot of companies out there had the long-term care contracts. And so you pay. If you don't use it, you lose it. That's what the normal contracts were of years ago, but they've gotten much better. This might be a good tool, but let me give you another tool out there, guys, in addition to the long-term care that Alex is really waking some people up to. And Alex is a very good topic. I'm glad you brought it up because people think they got it covered, but it can evaporate your money drastically.
Oh, yeah.
And you think, I can take care of my husband. I can take care of my wife if they get it. I can take care of him. Yeah, your heart is big. Your muscles may be big, but they do get worn out. Your energy gets worn out, and now you need some help. It is a caregiver that you're going to need. And I'm going to tell you that 9 times out of 10, you're going to need a caregiver or someone to come in and help you, whether you're your children or maybe someone else, but you're going to need that and I know we came that with my mom and dad. When Daddy died in 5 days with cancer, leukemia. My mom had cancer. It went from her lung to her kidneys, and 3 months later, she went home to be with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But the neatest thing about it, if there was anything neat about it, they died short term.
Of course.
The worst part is watching your mom and dad, like my ex-father-in-law, in a nursing home bed in the VA hospital for 3.5 years of brain cancer. Let me tell you something, guys. This is something that needs to be planned for, and this is something you can do. Whether you speak to your financial advisor or not, or an insurance guy or gal, this needs to be a discussion. Why? Because it's not only a product or a vehicle to use, but maybe it is an estate planning tool. Should I buy or open up a trust? Should I start hiding, or I should say redirecting, better than hiding? Should I redirect my assets into a special trust, which people do with us all the time, Alex, into this trust? So in the event my lights go dim or this money is starting to go out, they will not have to have liens against their property or use the assets. This is planning in the best portion of the area that you can do now. And I think, Alex, people are putting this aside. They're not paying attention. And the reason why? Who the heck wants to talk about your lights going dim?
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about that.
Of course, nobody wants to talk about it, but like we said before, nearly 70% of folks are going to need some sort of long-term care at some point. Yeah. And if you have questions, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Usually the time is, well, as early as possible, but when is the ideal time to start preparing for those long-term care needs? Because, I mean, like anything, I'm sure price goes up longer you wait, but what makes the most sense, Scott?
I'm going to reverse that question. When is the best time to start saving? The first day you get a job. When's the best time to plan for long-term care? When you're about to start to retire, or put that in your plan. See, it's not, you may not even need it, but the new programs and the new facilities they have out there, the new products they have out there, Alex, there are some tools that could really help insulate and protect your assets. I don't recommend a special trust for a lot of people right off the bat, but I'm going to give them heads up. So every year, if your financial advisor, your salesman, your agent, whatever you want to call them, if they don't bring up this area of the healthcare issues, where they're leaving a piece of you off the table, they're not bringing it up. And I'm not being ugly, I'm not being curt. I'm sure they love you to death. But this is not talking about the last trip you had. This is not talking about your kid's wedding or their great grandbaby that just popped out. No, those are great topics. But if we got down into the muck and grabbed our shovel and start to dig down, we're going to find some muck in this discussion to figure out how can we fill this up with protection clauses, rules, whether it's a trust, an irrevocable remainder trust. Maybe you need to start gifting to the children, in addition to protecting the assets, reallocating the investments so it's in a safer mode. So if you need it, it's there. And then, of course, so for some of you who are financially well off, it should be a gifting policy. But by the way, Alex, real quick, that's one of the strategies. I spoke to a person that came in just recently. They have a very nice estate, and I mentioned him on the phone. It came from a radio show, Alex. Our radio show is how much can you gift right now in 2023. How much can you gift right now, and what's the gift tax exclusion? That's $17,000. If you're listening to this show right now, it's 2023. In 2023, it's $17,000. But wait, what's that? But wait, there's more. See, if you're married, it's $34,000. But wait, there's more. You see, in this family, they had a very large estate. And I mentioned to him as we had our phone call when they called in from one of our radio shows, Alex, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but he called in and he asked me, he said, so Scott, what should I do and how should I handle it? I said, basically, on everything you just told me on our call, but I'd like to meet you again in person to make sure I got all the details and see the numbers you have. And he did come in just recently. Right on the phone, I said, did you know you could give each one of your kids right now? In his case, it was wonderful. And each one of you out there, don't use his situation for yours, but just gravitate this to your situation, meaning he wanted to give each kid $500,000. Now, his estate was very, very healthy. And he said, Scott, I can do that right now. I said, yes, but it's going to require a lot of work. Really? What do I have to do? It's one piece of paper. Are you kidding me, Scott? We was joking back and forth. He's an 84-year-old young man. I said, yeah, it's just one piece of paper. And it's this piece of paper will come from your tax preparer. He said, well, does it cost a lot of money? No, it's actually probably maybe $25 and you fill out the forms. He said, $25 and I can give each kid $500,000. They don't pay any tax on the money I give them. And I could do that right now. I said, yes, absolutely. He said, well, I want to do that. What is that piece of paper? Okay, that's called the gift tax exclusion form. You've got to fill that out. You give that out to the event. You can give actually a tremendous amount of money on the exemptions in 2023, and every year it's been going up. So I encourage, if you're thinking about giving and you're using the number 10,000, that's old school. Today it's 2023, it's 17,000, and it goes up every year. But actually, there's an exclusion up to $20 million if you're married and over. So this is a great way, again, when you're looking at the publication 559. If you pull that up on the gift taxes, you can read that if you like reading that boring stuff. But for those of you, to him, it's not boring because it affects him.
Yeah.
So again, Alex, when we're talking about the long-term care, we're talking about taxes, we're talking about gifting. This is where a financial advisor really needs to get down and dirty and look at all the areas. And I'm sure your guy, if you're listening to me, I'm sure your guy or gal does that. And if they don't, maybe they're just a one-trick pony and sell certain individual products. This could be not good for your financial health.
Yep.
You got to look at everything, Alex.
Absolutely. And if you have questions, Scott has answers. 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. When we come back, I've got questions, you've got questions, we've all got questions. Coming up next, Scott answering those questions with our mailbag segment. Stay with us. This is Financial Insanity.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Sounds like the mailman's here.
It's time to answer questions from the McLean Advisory Group mailbag.
Now time for one of our funnest segments. We really enjoy this, getting questions from the audience. Scott, I know you're ready for our mailbag segment. You're listening to Financial Insanity. And if you hear something and it raises an idea, concern, something you may have, 609-488-4646 is the number, 609-488-4646. And Scott, let's just jump right into it here, my friend. Here's the first question. This person's worked at the same company for 25 years. They had a 401k there. That's great. But a big merger, and now I'm not sure how to track down that account. I've definitely heard of this happening before. What tips do you have for Scott for trying to seek out that old 401k?
Wow. Well, first of all, they should have a statement at least once a month, if not once a quarter, for the statements of the 401k. If they've been there for 25 years, I can tell you they've been either not paying attention to statements or maybe they checked off a box on their investment to make it all email, but they need to call the HR department. Of course, based on the big merger, you want to see if there's any stock options. Did they have any stock options? Were they there before the company? Obviously, you've been there for 25 years. There might be some options there. And so you need to go to the HR department, then over the investment department, ask them, of course, where's the money? Maybe it's payroll. Maybe it's that simple, but it's being real proactive. And if you start hearing the rumbling in the street, make sure you get your affairs in order and then have a meeting with someone, with an advisor who can look at holistically their investments. And if they got laid off, not laid off, there's going to be a buyout. What's going to happen? This is a lot of questions there. That's a huge question on just one simple question, but it's really, really big. And I think you're going to hear, based on the economy, how it's going, you're going to hear about perhaps layoffs. Like when I was a young kid in the 80s, they call it age discrimination. Well, now they can just go ahead and get rid of the old people because they have it contractually. So this is really important. You pay attention to your investments, your dollars, and again, where are they to make good money?
That's great, Scott. All right, another question here. This person says they've done a pretty good job keeping track of that dreaded B word, the budget, and finances during adult life. But, important question here, why is it so important to have someone else do this budgeting for you in retirement?
You know, everybody who wants to win in sports and goes into competition, they're not their own coach. They've got to get a coach. And so you might be overlooking things, maybe overseeing how you're working out, how you throw the football, how you hit the golf ball. They need a coach. When it comes to investment, this is really, really challenging when you try to do it yourself, you run the budget. And if you go meet with an investment advisor who's done this for many, many years, they've seen people make good mistakes and bad mistakes. There are good mistakes. You could correct things. Obviously, at least you tried. But there's no do-overs in retirement. So having another set of eyes is almost like, it's almost like when I was looking for my keys the other day, and my wife said, I said, where's my keys? Where'd you put my keys? Scott, look on the table. I'm looking on the table. Scott, are you looking at the table? Look to your left. I'm looking to my left. Now, obviously, I was in a hurry. I need to get out. But she came over to me. She grabbed my hand kindly and very calmly, luckily. A scotoma is something you don't see, even though it's right in front of you. This is why people need another fresh set of eyes, because there are no do-overs in retirement. And one mistake could cost you hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially in choosing your Social Security and then choosing the right investment options. Alex, next.
Why are women so much better at finding things? It's not a question that's been sent in, but it's just true. It's just
more
true.
Patient.
All right. Well, here's a good one. So this person sent it in for their dad. They says, my dad's a worrier, and now I'm afraid he's going to worry himself to death over everything that he sees on social media. And
that's real.
He's constantly getting all of this information, and it seems to be worrying him, scaring him. What advice can this person give to their father when it comes to social media and all this financial news?
Everybody has their view. I have my view. Alex, you have your view. We have different views. That's why I like looking at history. What can history teach us versus trying to guesstimate? History has a good way of repeating itself more often than not. But again, we have to have many different advisors. I think with one advisor in your world, in your life, because the wisdom comes from many advisors in the book I read. And oftentimes we need that. How do you tell your dad? Dad, let's come on. You got. I don't know if you can tell your parents anything. They're going to do what they want to do. They're probably set in their ways. I don't mean to be ugly. I can just tell you, if they're set in their ways, or maybe you can say, let's go find a hobby. But then you need to say, Dad, or Mama, these are two different opinions. Opinions are, everybody has their opinion, but let's see what we can find out. Let's call a couple people and get their feedback. But I can tell you that will cause, psychologically, we know for a fact that bad news causes your health to decline. It's a positive mental attitude, not saying, oh, I hope the deficit goes away. No, we got to fix it. But it's keeping your head in the muck starts to smell. I can promise you. So they need to help get another advice, perhaps come in and say, let's talk to somebody else about it. But they need a fresh opinion. It sounds like they're kind of stuck in the muck. And it's really hard to do. Be very patient with your older parents, because pretty much it's going to be hard to change that habit. I'm sorry.
It's very true. No, very true. And we are going over some mailbag questions today. If you have questions, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, @8.com for the website. Scott McLean, Financial Insanity, out of the box thinking for your financial sanity. Another question here, Scott. What is your best advice for someone who maybe is 10 years away from retirement and doesn't want to make any big financial mistakes? Huge time here. If it was football, that'd be the red zone, I would think, for your retirement.
Boy, that's a great thought. 10 years. Most people come in the last 6 months or last 3 months.
I'm retiring next week, Scott. What should I do?
Exactly right. So for those people that are in or near, nearing retirement, congratulations if you're 10 years away thinking about it. Number one, pay attention to taxes. Pay attention to taxes. How can I increase my savings? Pay attention to investing, shifting from the G to the I. TR equals G plus I. TR, total return, equals growth plus interest. The goal is shifting your assets to a more of an income play so you can live on the dividends and interest, not just on the growth. You can't spend growth. We spoke about that earlier in the segment. You can't spend growth, but you can spend the dividends and interest. 10 years away is a long time. Where do I put my money? Should I focus on a Roth IRAs as well as my 401k? Should I, if my spouse is retired, should I go ahead and continue funding my spouse's retirement? How much liquid cash do I need so when I retire, I have enough liquidity? And then I think the big cuss word most of the seniors or those becoming seniors like myself, here's a cuss word I think you need to memorize. It starts with the capital N and then the capital O. When people keep borrowing money from you, your kids keep coming to the well, perhaps you need to say no. And then I tell our clients, just tell them, my financial guy said I can't do it. Blame someone. I mean, when my daughter used to want to go out and date a couple of guys, and she goes, "Dad, I really don't like that guy." I said, "Well, just tell him to come talk to me, and I'll help you out, honey. Use somebody else to help you out of that situation if you can't say no, because that's the biggest. We never know when we need extra cash. It could be the money is for you and your spouse if you're married, then it's for your livelihood, then it's for your fun enjoyment. So the go-go years, it goes as slow-go years, and maybe you can start giving it away. But it's about you first, you and your lovely spouse or your charities, but actually you and your family first, taking care of them. This is the biggest challenge I find, because what happens is when you get to that point, focus on your budget. But again, the cuss word, no. Start practicing no, because I can tell you that will start to bleed your money when you go into retirement and you're starting to help your kids. Well, they need it. Well, you're hurting yourself. It could be painful. So be very cautious of that.
If you have questions, the number for Scott, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Just a couple minutes left, Scott. And I just wanted to ask you, if somebody maybe is on the fence about coming in, giving you a holler, what can you tell people about what it's like, the first contacts with you, and maybe that first visit? If somebody wants to come in, maybe if you could just kind of explain what that process is like for folks that maybe are first-time visitors, first-time callers into you.
Well, that's really enjoyable time. I think I encourage people, as Alex, you were saying, give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. Ask for Bonnie. And what will happen is Bonnie will say, okay, great. She'll schedule a time to come in or over the phone. She'll ask you some questions. She'll send you a little questionnaire, not in depth, but just to get to know you. I want to get to know people, whether it's over the phone, via the Zoom, the internet stuff, you can see each other, or coming into the office. We're going to ask lots of questions that surrounding your family, who gets the money, your health, your benefits you have at work, your spouse. Perhaps your spouse passed away. Maybe you have inheritance. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff about you, because it's about who? You. When I hear people going to a financial office and giving that financial guy or gal money for the first time, or going to the bank, to me, they're just double dumb. Why? You need to get to know the whole picture, not just a quick salesman. That drives me absolutely crazy when people come in there and say, well, we got a great product, and they're selling product. It's not about product. It's about, well, we don't need, if we're a carpenter, we don't need a drill and we don't need a bit. We just want that hole. Well, to get the hole, you got to have a drill and bit. I want to know what kind of planning, what kind of personality you are. Is this a good fit for me as well as a good fit for you? It's a two-way street, because retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to know your investment strategies. I need to know your investment outlook. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This is why, whether it's one meeting or two meetings, we don't do business the first one or two meetings ever. We get to know people. This, to me, is very important.
I love it. I just love you framing that up for folks. 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. This has been another episode of Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. Great show as always, my friend, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right, you too, my friend, and everybody out there.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.